Hello, beautiful ladies of the Break the Cycle Facebook group. Welcome back to day 4 of the relationship and lesson series. I hope that this has been helpful for all of you. Just seeing where I've been and where I am now, because it is like worlds of a difference. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't even feel like I'm the same person, or that all that I've chatted about is even in the same lifetime. So things can happen really drastically. From what I'm mentioning to you here has all been within a 10-year period. So with all the relationships that I'm going through, because my first one, day one, started when I was 17. And what I'll end on is now that I'm 28. So you're seeing like a whole 10-year period, but it's just crazy. Like I'm going through these relationships that I've been in, and it's just so crazy. Sometimes I can barely believe that like I've gone through it. So if you're here with me, just let me know that you're here. Drop a heart, drop a like, drop a comment, let me know that you're here. And if you are watching the replay, go ahead and hashtag replay. Today we're going to be talking about the catfish experience that I had. And I don't know if this really is a catfish experience, but it felt like it, if that makes sense, because I'm going to explain everything. And I know like the way a catfish experience could be described is like you meet somebody online and they weren't who they said that they were, right? But essentially this is what happened. So today we're going to be talking about the catfish, and this relationship wasn't even like significant in my heart whatsoever, but this was a really, again, traumatic experience. Because of what happens in it. So I mentioned how when my daughter's father left, I always felt like he was the one who got away, right? And so I closed off my heart. Anybody that I dated just didn't compare. I didn't have feelings for anyone. I was just kind of like dating because I didn't want to be alone. And so that was really just the way that my relationships were. I didn't have feelings for this guy that I'm going to tell you about, this catfish guy. I didn't have feelings for him, which is also like why this situation is so frustrating because of what ends up happening. But to get started, I am now at this point in my life, I start cosmetology school, and I'm really happy with how things are going. I'm starting to feel really good about myself. I'm starting to feel like I have purpose. And I'm like, I say that I'm not in a position to date, right? I'm like, I just want to focus on me. Like, how many of you have said that, right? Like, I'm just focusing on me. And then all of a sudden somebody comes in, you don't want to date them, and then you date them, and then it ends up being a disaster, right? And you're like, I didn't even want this in the first place, right? So this was me. This is what happened. And so I'm in cosmetology school. I am just feeling so good because I am doing something with my life, and things are starting to feel like I'm improving in my life, right? For the first time, I just feel like things are going really well. And so I see this guy on my friend's Facebook. And all I simply do is like, who's your friend? Like, he's really cute, right? And so I tell, my guy friend that his friend's really cute. And then he decides that he wants to like have us meet. He like connected us, right? And so I start talking to this guy. I'm like, I'm not looking for, I just want to focus on me right now. I just want to focus on me. I just want to focus on me. And he pursued me, and that felt really good because I'm trying to focus on myself. This guy really wants to go out with me. And so then I'm like, okay, fine. Right. Okay, fine. So we start going out. Again, I don't have feelings for this person. He's not my vibe. Like, he's not really charismatic. He's not whatever, but he is love bombing me. Right. And so he tells me that he owns a construction business. He's very successful. He gave me a little bit of insight on his life. He said that he had 2 kids, but his ex-wife was really toxic and like doesn't let him see his kids and all of this stuff. And so we continue to see each other. He's a big partier, really big in the party scene, from where I'm from, like in the city of Cleveland. Everyone kind of knows the partiers, the people that are always at the clubs and always at the places, right? And so he was very well known at those places. And I knew just from pictures, and I went out a lot at the time. He did go out a lot of the time, and he was kind of one of those like big spenders. And so I had no reason to think that he would not be honest about his life. And also my friend connected us. And so I had no reason to think that he would lie because my friend connected us. And again, like I'm young, I'm naive at that point. So we're continuing to see each other. I really don't remember how long this went on. It was not significant. But what starts to happen is I noticed that we always come to my house. We never go to his house, right? And so we're always going to my house, and he tells me that he's got this big, beautiful home. He like sends me pictures or like shows me pictures of it. And I'm like, okay, it's weird that we've never been there. Like it has been like going on a month. We've never been there. And so I think that's weird, super weird. What I also think is weird is that he tells me he owns this business, but somehow he's never at work. He would, however, have phone calls with employees. And so, my intuition, I wasn't good at listening to my intuition at the time. And I also was that person that like didn't want to speak up and sound stupid, because what happened in my relationship with my daughter's father was I would be convinced that he was cheating on me because he was. And then he would make me feel really stupid. And he would just be like, you're such an idiot. Like, you're wrong. And he would like try to contort all these lies to show me that I was wrong. And then I would feel really, really dumb. And I hated feeling like I was dumb, because he would always tell me that I was a dumb bitch. And so I hated that feeling of being stupid or being so sure of something and then being wrong. And so with this guy, it just felt weird. And so I wouldn't bring it up. I wouldn't say like, hey, why haven't we gone to your house? And so, I continue to just like observe these feelings. And I'm just like, that feels weird that I haven't been to his house. He doesn't tell me that he is going to ever see his kids or trying to or whatever. And we are going out a lot. And I see him spending money. So I'm like, okay, this guy's got to have some income, right? And so he gets to a point where he like really wants to be in a relationship with me. And he's saying he wants me to be his girlfriend, all of these things. He wants to spoil me. And he was never mean to me, to be honest. Like he never said any mean words to me, like didn't call me names like the other people had in my past. Like he didn't put me down, but he was also very insecure. And so like you could tell that he was insecure. And it just was like things just were not adding up. They felt so weird. And so after some time of spending time together, he started asking to borrow money. And the thing was, like, I was a bartender and I always had cash. And so I always had cash, and he knew that. And so he would ask me to borrow cash. He's like, hey, I just have my credit card. We need cash for going out tonight. and I would keep my money in a safe. And so I told him no the first time. And I was like, no, that feels weird. And then he was like, okay, whatever. Like, I'll pay you back tomorrow. It's not a big deal. And then once he was like, I'll pay you back tomorrow, we can go to the ATM. I said, okay. So I go to where my safe is and in the other room, and I get the money and I come back out and I give him the money. And then the next day pays me back. No problem. He's like, see, I told you I'd pay you back. Like, it's not a big deal. It's just the ATM was closed because it was at night. And I guess even now that I'm saying it, there are ATMs that are like 24 hours, but he said that his bank was closed. That's funny, but I just realized that. So anyway, he gives me back the money, whatever. And I'm like, okay, like this guy is, did what he said he was going to do. Wonderful. Perfect. And then, I had a car issue, and, he said that he works on cars and that he can fix it for me. And so I'm like, that is so nice. What a nice guy to tell me like that he works on cars and that he knows how to fix my car. And so he sleeps over the night before. I'm going to cosmetology school in the morning. I was going like 12-hour days. And like my daughter was young at this time, like he would always come over like when she was asleep or whatever. And then like, we'd kind of finagle that so that she really wasn't around him a lot. So it'd always be like, while she was sleeping, like he would come over, or if I had a babysitter when we would go out or whatever. And so I went to cosmetology school, and he told me, he was like, take my truck. You can take my truck, and I'll fix your car, and it'll be totally fine by the time you get home tonight. And so again, I thought that was so nice. And so I remember specifically thinking one thing, like there was something that was wrong with his truck. Like he had gotten into an accident or something like that, and he had like a huge dent in his car. And I was like, if he's as successful as he says he is, why hasn't he gotten his truck fixed? If he works on cars, why hasn't he gotten his truck fixed? So again, never bring these concerns up to him, because I don't want to seem stupid. Like if I'm wrong, I didn't want to feel stupid. Like, my exes had previously made me feel when I felt like something was wrong, and then they would just tell me that I was insane. So I didn't want to be in that position. So I honestly just learned to like keep my mouth shut, and I wouldn't challenge anything, and I would keep it to myself. And so I get home from school, my car is fixed, I give him his truck back, and then I stop hearing from him. He doesn't text me later that night. He doesn't text me the next day. And I'm like, well, that's weird. Like, why would he not? Well, a couple days later, like after, really not hearing from him, I have to pay my rent. And so I go into my safe so that I can go deposit money into the bank. And it's weird. It's so weird. Like my intuition is crazy. It's so on point, even back then. But I remembered thinking, what if somebody stole my money? And it wasn't even like thinking about him, but I was like, it was just a weird thought that was like, what if somebody stole that? And so I go into my safe where I had $10,000 that I had saved up to put myself through cosmetology school because I didn't want to take out loans. He stole $10,000 from me. I was in complete fucking shock. I'm a single mother. I'm putting myself through school. I don't get child support. He knows all this. he ghosts me. And well, this is actually, so I'm literally in shock. And I text him and I'm like, you stole money from me. And what's interesting that he said was, I didn't get your safe from under your bed and steal money from you. And so, but my safe was in my closet. I had a walk-in closet. And I was like, he's literally trying to like manipulate that to make me think that I believe that he didn't know where my money was. Right. And so my money is gone. I had nothing. I think he left like 5 ones in the bottom of my safe. And I just did not know what the fuck to do. So I call the police and I tell them what happened. The police comes to my house, you know, and to be honest, with all the interactions that I've had, like, this is just my opinion, all the interactions that I've had with the police with domestic violence, men hurting me, abusing me, stealing from me, the police have not been helpful in any of the circumstances. And so this was another one of those circumstances where the police comes to my house. I tell them about my ex at this point, and he looks up his record, and he's got theft on his record. He's got domestic violence on his record. He's got so many things on his record. I find out he lives with his parents, and he's a lot older than me. So I think I know that he's 50 now because I actually saw him on a dating site recently and it said that he was 50. So I don't know. If I'm 28, I don't know how many, I can't do math. I'm a coach, I can't do math. But he was a lot older than me. And so he lived with his parents. He had domestic violence on his record. He chose to not see his kids. Remember what I said about, he said that his ex-wife, like, you know, wouldn't let him see his kids. And he like gave me a whole sob story about that. So he voluntarily chose not to be in his kid's life. Doesn't own a construction company, does not have a job. I don't know where he got his money from. I'm not sure. I don't know if it was from, like, maybe he did like independent contractor work or something like that, but he didn't have like a legitimate actual job. He didn't have a home. He didn't have a business, like all of the things, right? So now he has my money and it's a huge issue. So with the police, I'm getting sidetracked. With the police, we look at his record, all of the things. They say that they're going to help me. And then the police make some calls, whatever. And then he comes back to me and he's like, I just want to make sure that you're being honest about having this money. You had this money, right? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, because I know that sometimes when there's a breakup, a woman can start a lie about a man and try to get him in trouble. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, no, I'm not making this up. And he was like, well, do you have any proof that you had $10,000? And I said, no, because how would I have had proof? So they end up trying to get me to bait this guy so that they can arrest him. They want me to try to meet up with him. That is so fucking dangerous. And I could not even believe that the police would tell me to do that. I was like so just taken back by the whole situation. And so they weren't going to help me. There was nothing that they could do. And so it becomes a whole thing. And when I was younger, I put a lot of my business on the internet. And so I was like, this guy, I put his name on there. I was like, this guy stole $10,000 from me. He's a piece of shit. Like, watch out for this person. He's a predator. He lies, blah, 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 blah. Like, post his picture. That caused a lot of drama because he posted my intimate pictures between him and I all over the internet. So I did that and pissed him off. And then in retaliation, he posted my naked pictures all over the internet. And on Facebook, he tagged me. It was a whole thing. And so I tried to get Facebook to take it down, and it was really awful. I did not even have feelings for this person. And that's what happened. Like, that was, again, a turning point in my life where he wasn't abusive to me. He didn't put me down. Like, I mentioned yesterday how the guy before me, like I said that I would never date an abusive man ever again. Me as a young girl, I did not learn a whole lot of lessons, not the hard way. And so I vowed to myself, I will never fucking be in this position again, ever. And so I really raised my standards at that point, because I was like, I'm done dating losers. I'm done dating guys that are abusive. I'm done dating, having these dating experiences. And so it was like a switch flipped in my brain. And from that point on, I was dating higher caliber men that were wealthy, that had their shit together, that they weren't abusive. They didn't have criminal records. Like, they were actually just like normal people. But I had to have this experience again to ensure that I would never, ever, ever date somebody like this again. Because I, again, made a promise to myself. I was like, okay, I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer. This guy didn't abuse me or assault me or say horrible things to me, but he did steal all my money and was a complete liar. And so the message that the lesson that this taught me was, if something doesn't feel right, you speak up about it. And so I was like, if I would have just spoken up and said, it's weird that we haven't gone to your house. Why haven't we gone to your house? Or listened to just my intuition in general, because this taught me that I had this fear of looking stupid if I was wrong. Well, how stupid did I fucking look after he stole all my money and posted all my pictures on the internet? And then, that's the way it ended. And so that really was the catalyst, again, for higher caliber people. I dated men that really did own businesses. They were wealthy, which I'll get into, in the other series that we'll do. But that was kind of like my like coping thing. I was like, I will never date somebody that doesn't have their financial life together again. And that I have proof of that. And so it was a good thing that I went through this so that I would not continue to date people like that. But I think a lot of us, something doesn't feel right and we don't speak up about it. We get that feeling in our body, in our gut, and we have these thoughts that something's not adding up. Like if you feel like something's not adding up, it's because it's not. Like, they say one thing and then they do something else, or like you see something and you're like, oh, that's weird. That's weird. That doesn't seem right. Like, how many of you have had this experience where something just doesn't feel right, and your gut ends up being right? Your gut is right 100% of the time, but it's like, can we listen to it 100% of the time? No, we have to get really, really good at that. I remember even listening to a Abraham Hicks podcast where she said that, like, you know, even as this like spiritual master, she had an experience where, you know, her intuition was telling her not to be involved with this person, and then it ended up turning out really bad. And so, you know, it's like, no matter where we are in our journey, we're never going to get it right 100% of the time. But if we can speak up when something doesn't feel right and get an explanation, then that's going to help. It's going to, you're listening to your body, you're listening to your intuition, and then you're looking for proof, right? And so if I would have asked him, hey, show me where you work. Hey, show me your house. I want to see your house. Hey, what are, like, who are you on the phone with? He was making fake phone calls to fake employees. He was not really on the phone. And so, you know, it was like these things didn't feel right to me, but I also didn't want to be wrong. So all in all, it's like, we have to, if something does not feel right, we have to speak up. We have to say, hey, this feels weird to me. Why is this like this? Because again, like, I work with a lot of people, as well as, you know, experiencing a lot of trauma as myself, as you know. And so it can be really hard to know the difference between your intuition and your PTSD, or your anxiety, your imposter thoughts, right? And so this is where we have to just get really, really clear on, if something's not right, we speak up about it, we ask about it, we start to look for the evidence, because it's going to be there. But a lot of times we don't want to do it because we so badly want the person to be the person. We want so badly for that person to just be the right one, because we would rather be with them than be alone. And at this point in my life, I've mastered being alone. I used to never be able to be alone. I was so codependent. I hated my own company. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know anything about myself because I was scared of who I was. I had so many mother wounds that when you have a mother wound, it's like you have this deep feeling. It's more about who you are. Like, the father wound is what you do, like the things you do not being enough. The mother wound is about who you are, and you feeling like you as a person, something's wrong with you. And so I always had this deep fear of being by myself because I didn't know who I was, and I always thought something was wrong with me and I wouldn't want to face it. So I spent time with people that I didn't even have feelings for, got emotionally involved, or got my life involved, intertwined, spending time. And it obviously did not serve me. And so, you know, we want so badly for somebody to be the right person that we're willing to overlook all the red flags. We'd rather just not be alone. We'd rather not speak up. We'd rather not speak our truth. But it backfires every single time. It backfires every single time to not advocate for yourself, which is something that I just didn't know how to do because I so feared rejection. And I would have just much rather been with somebody than by myself. So that is the biggest lesson here for me, was take things at face value. If something feels off, then it's because it probably is. Advocate for yourself, get answers. There's so many times that I could have just asked him, like, why things seemed the way that they did. And that doesn't mean that he wouldn't have lied. Of course he would have lied. But the thing is, he'll be able to tell a lot of the time when they're lying. And you also have to follow through with that intuition. Because, like, we can ask the right questions all day long, but people will still be dishonest. And so that gut feeling is there for a reason. It's always trying to talk to us. It's always trying to communicate with us. But a lot of the times we are just not comfortable enough tapping into our body and tapping into our feelings and tapping into that intuition. And so it's like we're so overstimulated, we're so over functioning that we don't even check in. And so now I'm checking in with myself. Like when I'm on dates, I just had an amazing date before this. We went out to lunch for like 2 hours and it went by so quick. And so I'm like, wow, I'm on the date. I'm checking in with my body. How do I feel? Does this feel good? And then I'm checking in with myself after. How did I feel? Was there any gut feeling? It's like we get to be so in touch and in tune with who we are, but we avoid it because we don't like that. And we want to we'd rather be with anyone than be alone. Right. And so, now for years I've been comfortable being on my own. I'm extremely happy being interdependent. Like, there's independence, there's codependence, and then there's hyper independence, there's interdependence, and there's codependence. And I'm so happy either being independent or interdependent, where I'm so like, I love when people meet my needs. I love being in relationship. Like I love being in relationship, but I also love being outside of relationship. Like I do really well on my own. I have a lot of fun. Like there's so many pros, and there's so many pros to being in relationship, and there's so many pros of being single. And there is just such an emotional freedom when you can be on your own, because when you are happy on your own and you feel fulfilled, then you're not going to settle in order to not be alone. So, you have like, you use your discernment when you're happy being alone. You don't feel like you have to be with somebody. So you actually choose rather than coming from a place of need. I needed to be with somebody. I needed that once upon a time because I didn't want to be by myself. But when you don't need somebody, when you don't need outside validation or attention or a relationship, you then get to choose it. So you're not coming from a place of lack. So, gosh, what a stupid, insignificant relationship that caused so much turmoil. So again, listen to yourself, listen to your intuition, and use your discernment. Do your homework on the people that you go out on dates with. All right, everyone. I hope that this was helpful, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.